Good day, Paper Army. This is tutorial number 1 for a Hoth snowspeeder. And one of the things you have to do is this is a micro machine. All right, this whole thing is, shoot, it's just barely 1.25 inches long. All right, so with that, I decided for the tutorial that I'm going to make one that's about 2.5 inches long. And so what I do is I take and I measure out 2.5 inches. Okay, and so this is 1 inch, so 2 inches wide by 2.25 long. So there is my 2-inch section right there and right here. And so now all you have to do is you have to just cut this stuff out. It's actually pretty simple. This part of it is very easy. And that is it. Okay, this is your chassis. All right, now the chassis is what you're building first thing off. All right, so let me put this on here and we look. All right, now I know that I'm basically just doubling the size. Okay, and so that is 2 inches, and this is a 1/4. So I'm doubling it, so that's going to be 1/2 inch. All right, basically from this edge right here to back here is 3/16 of an inch once you get the fins in place. All right, so that's probably a lot less than that as we go. And measure this. All right, that's 1/4 inch. All right, so now this is where you start. I start back here. This is 1/4 inch where these fins are. That means it's going to be 1/2 inch. It's a 2-inch wide area. So we're taking 1/2 inch in the middle. All right, now that's where the fins are going to be mounted, is right there. Yep, and that is inset just a little tiny bit. Okay, so now what I want to do is, at this point, if you want to inset something, you take your cut and you turn your scissors this way and you make your first cut here. All right, now once you get that in, then you make your second cut and third cut. You want this piece, I'm going to turn it over to make it easier, just like that. All right, now there is, it's hard to see, but there's your cut. All right, now that's where your fins are going to be mounted. Now I take this sanding block I make and I square up the edges. The sandpaper goes all the way around this as a square edge. And so that will make making these square edges a lot nicer. Now, I know that this was 1/4 inch running along this wing. So that is also 1/2 inch, but we're down 1/8 inch. So that is 1/4. So I go down 1/4 inch off of each side, and I put my marks over here at 1/4. So now you cut this to this point from 1/4 inch to nothing, just like that. Aha, 1/4 inch. All right, I had to mark the other side of it so that I got it correct. 1/4 inch to nothing. Now there is your base shape for the back of this, which is a snowspeeder. So now on my chassis, I have the back section of my chassis done. Now this was 1/4 inch, so we're looking at 1/2 inch up from there. And something you can do too is you can measure from your back corner and your back corner here, and then you can lay it down, your ruler down like so, and try to line it up and see what you come up with. Now that should be 1/4 inch. It is. It's 1/4 there, and it's 1/4 there. Now I need 1/2 inch. So now that I know that that is correct, I can get my lines here going. This is the front part of the wing that is going to go down to the nose of this. So now that is where it's set. And these marks are all on the inside of your chassis. So actually what will happen is it will all disappear. Now the guns are a little bit longer, and so we want to find a center point. And I know it's 2 inches wide, so we just lay this down on here like so, and my center point is at 1 inch. Now that is 1/8, so we want this to go back 1/4 of an inch. All right, so what we've got here is 1/4 inch there. And that is how this point works. All right, now this is 1/8 of an inch. All right, so the center line is right here. All right, and you can mark center line here. This will make it a little bit easier. You also mark your center line here, and then you run a center line up like so. Well, what that does is it gives you a way to map this out so that it becomes easier to do. Now this is 1/4 inch, so I measure 1/8 on each side of the center line. And then that goes to about, what did I say this was? Those points are 5/16. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that would be basically the 20 on this inch scale. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There is that, and there is that. Now what we do is we make our marks this way. Now this is going to be the points of the front of the snowspeeder. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can cut this out just like so. You can take an X-Acto knife and cut this along here. If you want a nice square cut and you have an X-Acto knife, then once you get those cut in, then you just go here and you turn it around and you go back. And that comes out of there just like that. Now what you've got, now because these have to be so exact, I don't freehand cut this. I go ahead and I find my point, which is right there, and I go to here. And I make this line there. I get my point like so. That's so I can see it exactly, so I don't have to hunt around, because symmetry, if you're building models, symmetry is already built into the model because everything is factory made. And so now I know exactly where this has to be cut, and I can cut it. There is your chassis to your snowspeeder. And so now what I have to think about is where exactly is the cockpit for the speeder. Well, it's in the center of the front. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got center points. And now I look at, where is it? The back of it is, it's 20 on this little scale. All right, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. All right. Where did I do that? Where did I do that? What? No, okay, I goofed that up. It's close, but it's not accurate to 20. So 1/4 of an inch back from this point is where the front of the cockpit goes. So I go to this point and I go 1/2 inch. And that doesn't quite look right. Yeah, it does. So it's 1/2 inch. All right, and here is 1/2 inch. All right, now this is where the front of the cockpit goes. So that means this piece has to be at an angle like so. All right, and I'm going to look at this. This back here is 1/8. All right, so that means those fins on this bigger one is going to be 1/4 of an inch. So I need 1/4 of an inch piece here. And that 1/4 of an inch piece, because this is all chassis work. That's actually built up. All right, so what am I going to do? I have to think a little bit right at this point in time. I think I can make this work the whole way through. Yep. Okay, so now I need a piece that goes right up to here. This has to be 2 1/8 inches by 1/4 inch tall. So now, these are no good. Aha. This is the same cardstock that I used for the chassis. So the superstructure is going to be made the same way. And actually an easy way to do that is you just set this down on here like so. And mark it. All right, now this has to be 1/4 inch. So we just measure up 1/4 of an inch right there and 1/4 inch right here. Put my straight edge on it and go like this. This is a machinist rule. I highly recommend you getting a machinist rule. I use this 98% of the time when I'm building, period. The only time I ever use my bigger ruler is if I need long straightaways on garbage paper. This one, a steel rule. And I would love to be able to sell these, but I just haven't got the time yet to be able to do that, or the money. And so anyway, because they're important. They're important to have, and I can't get them drop shipped, or I'd figure out how to do it. So now that I have this 1/4 inch piece, and I just cut that little knob off of there because I don't need it. But the cool thing about these is if you cut them on corner to corner like so, this is basically a 90-degree wedge or a gusset. You can use these if you got to hold a piece up. You can glue these on, and it will hold the piece up while you're letting everything dry. All right, now I need this here. Well, here's the wonderful thing. I already have my mark, so I know where it has to go. So I mark it here. Now, this is an angle cut straight up to that. Now, what I have is I have the perfect angle to make the very front of this snowspeeder. It's already made. And this is the chassis, all right? This is your chassis. That's what you have to build everything on to. This is superstructure. And one of the ways to fix it, see, because scissors cut like this, all right? That means this is cut weird. It won't stand up on its own. So I take my flat piece that I need to glue to of this superstructure, that goes on the chassis, and I square this edge so that now when I put the glue on here, it will pretty much stand up on its own. It won't at first. You can't. You have to hold it. But the thing is, now that I have this center line, I just put all this on here and I rub it back and forth, because what you want is you want some adhesion and cohesion. And now I just hold this upright in place. 60 seconds is a pretty good rule of thumb. Excuse me. Oh, geez. I need some agua. Welcome, everybody, to the Paper Army. We are trademarked, you guys. Nobody else has this gear. Only us. Okay, so now I want to look at this to see if it's straightening up right. It looks like it's doing okay. There's a couple things you can do. I have this dental tool. All right. I want to clean off the extra glue off the sides of this so it dries quicker. Okay, and always keep a piece of paper like this handy so that you can wipe your fingers off. And the first time you don't wipe your fingers off and stuff starts sticking to it, you're going to be disappointed. And so, wonderful news is this. Once you get your first piece of superstructure on, then you can start looking at how you have to build the rest of it. It's absolutely cool how this all works. And so, let me see, I can no, come on you. Let's go here, and let's go there. I'm working with my laptop as well. And so, anyway, it's one of those kind of things that just, you know, I try to multitask. Sometimes it works better than others. All right, so I know that this from center line goes right out to these wings. So this is actually a fairly simple part as well. That means this piece has to be built like this. All right, that's what you're trying to do. Okay, so now this is another simple section. I already have a template right here. So what I do is I just mark this out like so, because now this will give me the upper and lower section of the body. So in other words, this chassis now becomes part of the shell of what you're building, or your armor or your skin. With the big models, like the Star Destroyer or the X-Wing, things like that, you have to have your skin on, and then you have to build the armor onto that. And this is heavy cardstock. This comes off the back of those big old table calendars. That's what this is. So it's heavier than normal. And then all you got to do now is just basically cut this piece out. Okay. And so, yep. Yeah, I got to cut that out too. Because the fins go back in here. All right. And so this piece kind of has to be cut out just like the other side. But now, all I do right now is I have to find center line. And so the center line, really? That's too wide? Oh, yeah, okay. Center line, right there. And go to 1.5 inches, right there. All right, now, chop this in half. So now I have a left and a right. This piece goes right on here like so. And let's try it on the other side and see if it works a little bit better. Aha, it does. All right, so now that is all right, once I get this in place, then you have to figure out where your long spots are. All right, now this needs to be trimmed just a teeny tiny bit, because the angle wasn't right on the back. I could see it. And so now that goes there just like this. There's the edge of the wing. Okay, so I know that this has to be shaped like this front section. So I just put that on there and I mark this just like that. There is my center section. Okay, and now we have to cut out the point. Now this will change a little bit as you have to build this, but the symmetry is where it's important, and I already had this marked out. All right, so this goes here like so, and now I realize, oh my goodness, that is just a straight cut straight out of here like that. So it adds just a little bit of turn to it. Yep. And what this actually does is this gives you very accurate build principles. And the nice thing is, if you make a little cut that is just a tiny bit incorrect, you can fill it with what I call body filler. And that is a Bondo or cement, which is Elmer's glue, PVA if you're in Europe, and toilet paper or Kleenex or tissue paper or anything. All right, now here is where this goes. This piece goes on over here. And it is just a little tiny bit off on that cut. So we just trimmed a little bit more off of it. And so that's how you get these things to work. Now what I have, see, is basically I have these two side pieces. That's what's going to form the wings and the guns off the front and the cockpit on this. And it depends on how strong. Now this stuff is super strong, so I don't have to put anything on here. But if you're using thinner paper, you have to put another rib or another piece of superstructure right along here, all right? Because otherwise your model will crush. And if it crushes, you got to build another one. And I try to make sure that I don't have to build a bunch of this stuff over and over again. All right, so here's my situation. All right, I know this has to go together like so. So what I'm going to do with this is I am going to glue a little bit of this white paper onto it. And what this is going to do is this is going to actually bond these two pieces together so I don't have to worry about them flopping around or falling apart. And so with this tutorial, you're going to learn the base stages. This is tutorial 1 for the snowspeeder. And I'm going to go ahead and build more on it and show you more in following tutorials. And so I'm going to try to keep them all to 30 minutes so you can watch and get some practice and hopefully excuse me, need more agua. Hopefully within a week or so you'll have your first snowspeeder built. Okay, so all right, now here's where this paper comes in handy. All right, this stuff. All right, I need to glue these together. All right, well, to do that, I have to put a little extra glue on this paper, just like so. And this gives me the piece that I need to put these together. Now you want to line up the back section just as close as you possibly can, because this is where your fins are going to go. And I put that down there and I hold that, and then I rub it out like this, and then I just hold it, make sure it's all pushed together correctly. Because if it starts to slip on you, what happens is your build will go wonky, and you don't want that. And so now this is what you've got. You've got a butterfly. All right. And this will go right onto here, just like so. And so I can actually turn this over and it will butterfly this way too. And that's probably an easier way to do it. And now that I know that's in good shape, what I do is I run some glue right down this butterfly part onto this edge of this wing right here and onto the edge of the wing right there. So now this goes on here like so, and I hold those down into place just like that. And then that has to dry, because what you have to do at this point, once this is dry, then you have to trim off little extra pieces here and there and make everything go together later. And my next tutorial will probably show you how to get these to fit, but this all has to be absolutely completely dry for it to work right. And that way you can also mess with it and sand it and work hard with it, and it won't come apart on you. And so this is your base shape of your snowspeeder. There we go, against a black background or that dark, it helps. But anyway, this is what your first section will actually be about. So anyway, not quite 30 minutes, but very close. Thank you for being part of the Paper Army family, and coming to my YouTube channel and my TikTok channel and seeing all this. And so the coolest thing about it is, on YouTube, I'm the Paper Engineer. TikTok, jeez, it said, that name's already taken. I said, I know, it's mine. You can't have it. So I'm the real Paper Engineer on TikTok. And if you would like to catch my shows, I do a live show at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, USA. And you can catch it on both channels at the same time. So thank you all for watching, and I will have tutorial number 2 soon. Have a good day.